Hey, how's it going, guys? So here we are back again for day 16, more of the Python BACnet Stacks Playground. Please reference some of the earlier videos for how to get set up in Python, including VS Code and the VS Code extensions. Yeah, so like here we are. This is our AI generated coursework here, which is mostly theory. So we're just studying some applied computer science theory, and then there's some vibe code checkpoints. And we are up to the point of using BACpypes. So earlier we were just doing BAC0. So like we use BAC0 to use a simple read-write, read-write release, and read again to confirm that the BACnet write took, and then it also released. And then now we're jumping a little bit harder under the hood of BAC0 because BAC0 is a wrapper library around BACpypes, which makes things a lot easier. It's how I started out, and I was very grateful to have that because doing things on the raw BACnet stack directly, so like we're using the BACpypes directly, which is the network stack for BACnet in the Python programming language, and it's all async driven, async IO, so it looks a little bit more daunting than BAC0. BAC0 does a nice job at cleaning things up, where all you have to do was just put everything in a nice F string in a string format, which in our theory lectures we're kind of covering, some applied computer science theory, but now we're diving deeper into the hood of the BACnet stack. So this worked yesterday when we ran it, and then when we checked with our BACnet scan tool just to see everything worked. So one thing I think that is kind of important is when we use BACpypes and BAC0, BAC0 also supports this too, is even with our BACnet scan tool, maybe I'll bring that up. So like with our BACnet scan tool, we have to select a drop-down menu, and we have to select a NIC card, and then also a port. So that is a UDP port. So we could actually have like all these drop-downs come up for different IP interfaces that my computer has, some of which are like VPN stuff. But this is like for my local area network, the one that we've been playing around with lately with the Raspberry Pis and our BACnet devices. Local area network, this is my NIC card, and then the port number. So BACnet is a UDP based protocol, and the default that they run is 47808. Usually, I would say 99% of the time, all BACnet systems inside of some buildings will be UDP port 47808. So like BACpypes, when it runs, it's just interacting with the local area network on that network. But I have ran into some scenarios, one of which was not that long ago, where it was a large campus, higher level university, higher level education university, where each building, it was a flat network, which is kind of rare, and then each building had its own UDP port, and that's where BACnet gets really complicated, because then there would be a BACnet broadcast management device in between each building, routing BACnet messages across different ports, where that goes way above beyond this course, which that's like advanced networking concepts. My background setting up building automation systems and contracting, like our systems would always be on its own subnet, and we would never have to route between different port numbers or subnets. You can, but that gets pretty complicated unless you have like an IT background in networking, that it's complex. But anyway, so like the point being is like what we need to do quite often is, just like our BACnet scan tool, is set your BACnet application to your NIC card for the local area network, and then also port number. Usually you'll never have to do this. So when we do that in BACpypes, I think like might be worth looking at the source code. So BACpypes in the BACpypes source code up on GitHub, there is an argparse.py, which is something, a file that they created for actually sending arguments to your Python script. So you can set your UDP port, you can set the name of your BACnet device. Your BACnet instance ID is something I use all the time. And if you were doing some of that really fancy routing, or going from one BACnet network to the other, the advanced networking topics, which is above and beyond anything I ever do, there's even arguments for that, but I never use it. So something that I use all the time is sending an arg for the BACnet instance ID, and then also your address. So so where is it? So when we run our BACpypes version, even our app 1, where it just runs in about less than 2-3 seconds, like it runs, prints all of our data, and then it closes right away. The app stops. Briefly, like if you were on another device and another tool, like the script, even though it's running for only 2-3 seconds, the script would show up with the name Elixir and the BACnet instance ID of 99. So that just comes by default. If you remember, when we start our BACnet application, like we can only have one BACnet application running at a time, so you can't run this and your Python script at the same time. That's because even though we're just reading data, the BACnet stacks are always an inbound protocol, I think is the way I'm describing this correctly, where the operating system only lets you, only one application at a time, listen to port 47808, which is required to even read data. So like that's why I was saying, like when we would run our script that just reads a few values, writes, release, and reads again, it would show up in the BACnet, another BACnet scan tool, as Elixir device number 9999. So if you also have another device in the building on your BACnet instance ID, which is a BACnet virtual address of 999, you have a conflicting address. So you want to be aware of that stuff. Okay, so if we go check out our default arguments, that there's even a route aware, where I've never had to really use this, but there are some really fancy features of BACpypes. Cool color debugging. So like I typically always use debugs. You get better logs, which we'll get into later. So maybe we'll start writing some of this down. Let's go into here and then just get that up on one screen, and then I think we should start using maybe we could try color. Never used color before. So this is our vibe code app 1. I am just going to do some comments. I want to try that arg. I want to try this arg. I don't know, maybe we'll try this one too, route aware. I can't remember where that's used, but I've seen it before in discussions. And then we can get into using, let's see, where are we? So parse arg, so we have to get into color, let's see, so debugging, oh yeah, so we want to be able to set the name of our device. So like if we set the name, this won't really matter until once we start getting into BACnet servers, that's when we want to be able to set our BACnet device. That'll come up on the BACnet's discovery. So if we set, I'm just going to say Ben's read app, So if another BACnet tool is on the same network discovering our device reading, it would show up like this. Instance. I'm just going to pick an instance ID that I know is safe for my network. 100. Color, network, and then we can even pass in the address. Okay, so this would be, I think we have to use, well, maybe not. Yeah, let me think about this. Can't remember if we have to wrap this as a string or not, but if I do 192.168. Same thing here. Tool 4.11. Then it supports CIDR notation for your subnet mask, and you can do 47808. So CIDR notation, that is like 24 is 255.255.255.0. If we change this to a 16, it would be 255.255.0.0. Class B, Class C. So that's how that works. If you ever had to do that, BACpypes has the ability, but even though it works by default, so by default it just found my address. So if we just do Python, next I think we had to change directory into vibecode app1 Python. Oop, I didn't like that. Hold up. I think there is one VPN that I noticed that if I have open, it screws up my routing for some reason. So I just closed my VPN. Looks like it worked. Okay, so with no arguments, that worked. So if I do -- color, looks like I didn't do anything. Maybe that's only if there's an error or something like that. Which I think maybe it did that by default because it shows up as colors like that. So maybe we don't need that. I've never used that either. I personally have never used this either, but I think like this can come in handy if there's so sometimes like you get a contractor that'll set up a BACnet router between like MSTP networks and IP networks as like the same name and the same network number, and sometimes your application won't work. So if you can, I think use that if you have issues with routing on BACnet routers to different, usually MSTP networks, which is 2-wire twist and pair. So we'll just probably get rid of that too. Okay, so if I just use, I'm just going to copy this, and this should work. Though on Windows, I don't know if it'll like, how are we doing this? This will come in handy when we do BACnet servers later on, is that our BACnet device will show up as the name we want it and the instance ID we want it. So this should work. Ooh, I didn't like that. Okay, invalid logger. I might have to do something different. So I might do, let's ask ChatGPT. Why didn't this work? Let's download this and tell it this is the arg parse source code. let's see, we'll give it that source code, and then give ChatGPT our traceback. Okay, I just don't think we passed in our arguments properly. Hopefully it doesn't start revising our code because it kind of came up with some jumbled stuff earlier. It blew up before you ran. Okay, so we probably didn't run, see what it does. Maybe I just didn't pass the arguments in the right fashion. Oh, maybe I just didn't pass the arguments in the right order. What was the difference that I did? I don't remember having to pass in. Weird. Wonder why that doesn't work. I thought I had a default. So it's saying that I think you need it in the main. Okay, I'm just gonna say revise for this, please. So then we can just use whatever BACpypes has as default. I think it's gonna put this in the main down here. Maybe it didn't. Oh. Put some kind of a logging thing in there. Alright, so it's getting a little more fancy. Okay, so that worked, though we didn't get much logging. Well, most importantly, it worked. It's interesting though, I've never seen the debug of async.io, so this is like deep into the source code of like Python, I guess. Way deep into asynchronous programming in Python. Kind of cool, but we don't really need it. So, most importantly, that this worked. That our name, our instance ID, and then our passing our static IP address in this debug will work if we had, if we needed better logging. Okay, I think we might stop here for this. Just do a little bit of this every day. I think there's something wrong here that I'll have to investigate. But yeah, let's looking a little better. All right, so little by little, we're vibe coding a little bit every day. All right, so this is our script lesson for today. Then let's do our theory lecture. Okay, so day 16, modules in the standard library. The goal is to learn how to organize code into reusable modules and access Python standard library. That means it's the standard library is just whatever comes in with Python. Like BACpypes is not part of the standard library, or BAC0, so we had to install it with a package manager called pip. But Python includes a bunch of stuff right into the standard library. Sometimes they integrate more bells and whistles into the standard library too. This Python tutorials how notes that modules allow you to split your programs into several files. You can import a module using the import statement. This adds your module name to the program sequence, and you can access functions and variables using module.name. A variant of the import statement allows you to import specific attributes directly into your namespace. The standard library provides many useful modules for mathematics, random numbers, date, time, and more. Yeah, so here's some math examples: square root, pi, random. Usually most higher level linguists have this already, like Java or C++ or whatever. Math, okay, we'll create a utils pi. So if you put functions or stuff on a utils pi, maybe we can do this even with our vibe code apps. It makes things just look a little cleaner. Okay. Mini examples, let's do it. Do our same style here. Rid of that. Use math.floor and math.ceiling to round a floating number point. Set point up and down. Huh. Okay. So let's just say, I'm just going to say temp equals floating number would be a decimal. So we would have to import math. I'm just going to say, I've never used this before. So math.floor. So let's just say temp, let's see if we can assign it a new variable. Temp floor equals I don't know how to do this actually. This. I might have to look at a Python math floor example. Never used this before. Okay, that's what I thought. So you just pass a value into it. Okay, so we would just do math.floor temp print temp floor. Doesn't look like this is going to work though. Oh, I see what you're doing. There. So we could also do one for ceiling. That's what's nice about these VS Code extensions. I could tell it wasn't going to work because the color of the code from the extension. So temp ceiling equals math.ceil tab completed. Kind of helps a little bit. And we can just do another print for print temp ceil. Oops. Okay, so we'll just do Python script lesson. Actually, we have to change directory back to one directory. We have to go back to here, not into this folder. So I'm just going to cd ... Then Python script lesson. Okay, so it looks like it just rounds to the nearest whole number, to the nearest integer. Okay, I've never used that before, but I guess that works. Generate a random sample of 3 sensor names from a list using random sample. Generate a random sample of 3 sensor names from a list using random.sample. Never done this before either. Or random. So data, I don't know, equals random.sample. Curious what this will print. Missing 2 arguments. So I think like we would do data equals a list. So I'm guessing the center names would be strings. Temp. Just making something up here. Humidity. Pressure, I don't know. Missing 2 positional argument population in. I'm just gonna say 1. Whoops, stupid. Let me see what. You could just Google this now, which is kind of cool. That you can just Google it and AI will help you. What was I doing wrong? Okay, so that I just need to assign this a new variable. Data sample. Something I've also never really used, but I guess it could come in handy. Data sample. Still didn't work. Oh, I think I might have to pass data into there. It still didn't work. What is going on? So, okay, data is a list. Data sample. Print data sample. Pretty sure that's what I have here. Oh, wait, I think I have to do that. Pass that value here. And then close brackets here. There we go. See if it's truly random. Oh, yeah, it is kind of random. See how it's printing random values from here. Okay, so like here we passed our list into here. That's saying we want one sample, K, I guess, and then we assign that to another variable, and then we print the variable. Okay, done. Never had to do that before, but it's kind of interesting. There are some use cases for that, I think. Nice to know. Write a module conversions. Okay, so this is where it's saying, oh boy, feet to meters and kilograms to pounds. So I'm just gonna Google what is the formula for this. Math formula. Okay. 5 feet to meter, 10 kilograms a pound. That doesn't make sense. I think this is like what we need. I'm just gonna copy this. Okay. Number of feet by, ooh, the heck. Doesn't let me grab that number for some reason. Oh, come on. So annoying. Alright. Sorry guys, it's taking a little longer than we want. So, feet to meters. Still isn't letting me. What is going on here today? Oh, this is... Oh, It's just one of these days. All right, do it the old-fashioned way. Let's see, feet times 0.3048. kg times 2.2040462. All right, so I think this will be what we need. Okay, so it's saying like we need a utils.py. Okay, let's make a utils.py. This is actually kind of handy to know. I do this all the time. And I cannot type today. Utils.py. Then this is where we would make our functions. I'm just going to cut this. Okay, so we could make a function called def feet to meters. We'll pass in feet. And then just return feet times that. And we'll make another function called kg to lbs. Pass in kilograms. Return. Okay, so here we have a utils.py, and then we're going to actually import utils. So we would say import utils. So we could do, actually we could do this too. We could do from utils.py import kg to pounds, which are handy VS Code extensions will find for us, comma, and then also, what was the other one? Feet to meters. Feet to meters. Okay, now we can use these. So we could say print feet to meters. So we can pass in 3 feet. And then we'll also print kg to pounds. Say that we have 5 kilograms. And let's see what that comes up. Okay, so that worked. So 3 feet is 0.91 meters, and 5 kilograms would be 11 pounds. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So this is, we'll use this quite a bit as like we'll put all of our functions and stuff on like a utils.py is a great name for it. And then you can kind of hide it away from your source code to keep things nice and neat. So that's all I have for today, guys. Thanks for following along. Hoping you like the series so far, and please comment or reach out to me direct if you have any issues or anything special you want me to cover. Talk to you later.